My name is Haley, and I am the 2016 Junior Ambassador for the Milverton Fall Fair. It's an honor to represent the Milverton Agricultural Society today, and I would like to share my story with you today. It all started from when I was in grade 4, and I was the age of 10. I had a great life, a great family, but school was very difficult. It was a very difficult place for me. It started when some girls in my class would get everyone not to talk to me and to not be friends with me. When me and some girls were friends, they would make plans with me to go out and do things like go bowling or something, and then at the last minute change and go with someone else. I would be invited to birthday parties, and then I was told I couldn't come, and they would laugh in my face. There were times I would try out for sports teams, and I didn't make it, and I would get made fun of. I can remember one time at the baseball diamond when I was told to go away because no one liked me, even when my mom was right behind me and could hear the whole thing. There was one incident when I was outside at recess and minding my own business when a girl came up to me and said how no one likes me and how I should go away. And then she took her fingernails and scratched my forehead so hard that I still have a scar today. One night, my babysitter had to call my mom to come home because the cyberbullying was so bad that she didn't know what to do. It ended up I stopped trying out for teams and clubs and would often come home and curl up into a ball and beg my mom not to go back to that place. The teachers did everything they could to stop the bullying, but no matter what, I was still made fun of. My mom made the decision to send me to a different school, and boy, am I ever glad she did. It has given me new opportunities to do things. I am in student council, and I am a student rep for the high school student council. I am on all the sports teams, and I am in the musical and in every band. I am in every club, and I have lots of true friends that I know I can trust. I wake up every day excited to go to school, and if I have one message to give to someone who is being bullied, it would be to tell someone. I'm so glad I talked to my mom and told her what happened because I was open and honest. We could put changes in place to make the bullying stop. So if anyone is in a similar place, go tell your parents so that things can be done. And if you do, things will get better. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sweetie. I really appreciate that. I know it wasn't easy. I was bullied my entire life, too. I totally get that because it is a mental health issue, because it messes with you. You know, when people are saying mean things to you, it sinks in. You can't help it but sink it. But you're doing good. Good for you. Okay, I would like to introduce our next speaker. She's saying no, but I'm going to introduce her anyway. All right. You ready, Trace? Ready as we'll ever be. All right, everybody, this is Tracy. She's going to tell her story. Want me to stay?
You know, this is the first time I've done this, right?
Good job. You're good. You're doing great.
I don't know if she'll sit there. Okay. Bear with me. I've never told this story in public. Hello, my name's Tracy. I'm one of the co-organizers of today. My story starts out pretty much like everyone else. I had a family that loves me, parents that tried to raise me right, teach me how to work hard, respect others, help those you can when you can. Wasn't the most popular kid in school. In fact, in public school, I rarely fit in anywhere. It seemed some days I could disappear and nobody'd notice. I was the person who took the teasing, didn't say anything to anyone. Then came the first big change in my life. And not that it isn't the norm anymore, but my parents separated. And then they divorced when I was 12 years old. So at the most sensitive time in my life, grade 8, heading into high school, I found myself with 2 homes instead of 1, 4 parents instead of 2, and it seemed like I was in the middle of trying to keep everyone happy. Then came the big move. My mom and her new husband decided to move to the city of Stratford. Being a country girl from a small town, Donegal, the only people I knew were my paternal grandparents, who I had somewhat become estranged from due to the divorce, which was rather messy. I missed the farm with the animals. They always seemed to show unconditional love. Well, most of them. There was a few cats that, I find with animals, you don't have to worry what you look like, how smart you are, how much or how little wealth you have. As long as you're gentle and you love them, they'll love you back. I miss being able to walk back to the bush to just get away with my thoughts, my feelings. Here I was in a city, having to start into grade 10, meet and make new friends, do well in school as to not let the parents down. And not only that, I now had half siblings on the way, 17 years younger than myself. The years passed, I met someone. My adult life started to move, with a move to London, Ontario, following a career path that became a very large part of my life. We got married, didn't really plan on having children. Well, I didn't. I'd helped raise 2 of my half-siblings, and I thought I was done with that. Everything seemed to be going along okay, but then we did get pregnant. We were both so happy to add this person to our new lives. Doctor's appointments seemed to go like clockwork. And then I received a phone call at work from my doctor's office asking if we could reschedule my appointment due to some other scheduling issues. And I thought, sure, why not? Let's get it over with. That day, my life took a turn that will live with me forever. I was about 24 weeks along. The nurse did all the routine checks, called the doctor in. He did what he had to, and then he took my blood pressure again. With a somber look, he asked if I had plans for the afternoon. In my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm going back to work. The crib's being delivered, and we're going to put that together tonight. But of course, I replied with, just going back to work. Why? Well, I guess my blood pressure was what he said was a little high for his liking, and he wanted to send me to maternity triage at the hospital to be monitored. This being my first baby, little did I know how long a while would be. We get to the hospital, they hook me up. First reading comes up as 199/140. Bells and whistles started going off. Nurses came in, doctors came running. And a doctor I learned to respect for his honesty, straightforwardness, as well as his gentleness told them no more machine, it's just making it worse. Take it manually. That's when I knew it was bad. Something was happening and I wasn't going anywhere. My hospital stay began, needles to take blood, blood pressure readings, all the good stuff. One of the nurses told me to leave my dignity at the door and pick it up in a brown paper bag on my way out. Things seemed to calm down, and then an associate doctor came in and told me that, I'm sorry, we have to induce you tomorrow. It is the only way to stop preeclampsia. If we don't, your liver and kidneys will start to shut down and we could lose you. Lose me? What about my baby was my only thought. He left and all I could do was cry. My husband had left for work as he worked straight nights. Do I call him? Do I just try to sleep? My head was all over the place. I was only 24 weeks, 4 days, and I was taken to be induced. All I could think about is, what did I do wrong? It's too early. I did something for this to happen. I'm being punished for something. The neonatologist, a word I would learn well, came in, spoke to us rhyming off statistics. First being chance of survival at this early stage, 55% to 80, 60 to 80, but not bad, not good. Our little one had also suffered in uteral growth restriction, and she was measuring smaller than she should. Based on that came more statistics, and my head just exploded from there. Blindness, deafness, things I could handle. I have a cousin who went to Robarts. He was doing good, living a life. Blindness, you can live a good life. Then came the Down syndrome, the cystic fibrosis, the water on the brain, the seizures, the surgery. Harder and harder it became to focus on what they were saying and not feel like they were forcing life on this little person that wasn't even ready to be here. Finally came the most stressful thing I would ever hear before this little one was born. The experts, my doctors, told me that if our child was born at 25 weeks and weighed 600 grams, they would be required by law to force him or her to live by intubating them, forcing a tube down this little throat. and doing everything they could to sustain the life. However, since you're not quite 25 weeks, it's up to you as parents. Of course, if the baby weighs 600 grams at delivery, they'll do everything they can. And you need to make a decision now. We talked. My heart broke when all I could think of is, what kind of life would this child have? How could I force this unborn child to live just because I wanted them to? And how selfish would that be? So based on everything we were told, what her quality of life may or may not have been like, we made the hardest decision of my life, and we let her decide. Decision was made that if the law required them to intervene, they would. If the baby showed signs of trying to live, breaths were attempted, movement was there, they would help her in any way they could. But if she just didn't seem ready, they were to let nature take its course. That decision would forever change our lives. Thus, my journey through pregnancy and infant loss, and also mental health awareness, started in 2003 with the extreme premature birth of my first daughter, Carly. She had arrived at 24 weeks, 5 days, and she weighed 570 grams, just 30 grams short. Despite everything, the painful steroid injections, she just was not trying to breathe. Out of all the things I do not remember from her birthday, I do remember holding her tiny hand and whispering, if you're meant to go, go now. I don't want you to suffer. People tell you lots of things when you go through this, but they never tell you how hard it's going to be. I remember other people telling me they would have done anything to help their child, but in my heart, letting her go was helping her not to suffer. After her birth, dealing with her memorial and burial, all I could think of is, why couldn't it have been me? I remember looking for anything and everything to do with preeclampsia and child loss and how I was supposed to get through this. Nothing seemed to fit my situation. It seemed she had arrived just at her time. Since losing her, I have been fortunate enough to also have her little sister, my rainbow, Caitlin, who, although she was extremely premature, arrived via emergency C-section at 27 weeks, 5 days, and weighed in at 1 pound 15. It took me a week to even go and visit her in the neonatal unit. My fear of having to bury another child kept me from staying longer than needed to drop off pump milk and make sure her isolette was still in the back corner, affectionately called Caitlin's corner by the nurses. She survived 2 months in that neonatal unit, 2 weeks in the step-up unit, 2 weeks in care by parent, blood transfusions, etc. I still wasn't convinced. We finally got to go home, but something was still missing in my heart. My neonatologist's exact words at my 6-week checkup, we pulled a rabbit out of a hat. Now, I normally wouldn't tell parents not to try again. In your case, I think I'll make an exception. It isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when you will have preeclampsia and develop a premature baby. Those words have been burned into my memory for 12 years. I suffered major depression after Caitlin. I saw her and her sister everywhere. I began second-guessing my decision to let Carly go. Had I done the right thing? My marriage ended because I felt I was the problem. I was a failure as a wife, mother, woman. Since I was a problem in my eyes, the best way to fix it was for me to leave. Leaving my daughter behind with what I felt was the only stable parent she had at the time. I knew I had to find a way to deal with my feelings, but I just didn't know where to start. I decided to call my employee support program and gone into art therapy, all the while trying to keep things to myself. But one day the pressure just became too much. I was at work, struggling to focus, and after a few conversations with supervisors, I couldn't stay strong anymore. I asked a fellow coworker and friend to go for a quick coffee break, and as soon as we got outside, I couldn't breathe. The tears came in a flood, and I slid to the ground against the outside of the building. And all I remember telling her was I was letting everyone down. My employer, my coworkers, my husband, my daughter, my family, my friends. She was kind enough to take me to my therapist, and from there I ended up in Emergent, London's Victoria Hospital. In one of those secluded rooms with only a metal bed, a small mattress, and a chair, all bolted to the floor. My personal effects in a small locker in the hall. Emergency physicians came in to talk to me in pairs, asking me, was I going to hurt myself? Why would I do that? Why was I going to hurt anyone, sorry? Why would I do that? No one else is to blame. Was I going to hurt myself? In the back of my mind, I wanted to. Unfortunately, I'm too stubborn to do that. Okay, we'll be right back. I was referred to an emergency consult 2 weeks later and sent home. That emergency consult ended with me attending a day treatment program for 8 weeks, which ended on Christmas Eve. Then I was to wait again for another program in the spring, which is apparently May, June. Fast forward through a huge move to change my environment, 3 different doctors, 3 to 4 different drugs, 2 different medical studies, and an amazing therapist in Chatham who did one-on-one therapy with me and really started to open my eyes to the root of the issues. One day I saw a post about a lady looking for beads to make bracelets and needing help to keep up with the demand for requests. These bracelets were being sent all over the world. Wow, I thought, that's something I can do. I can't get out of bed. I can't go to the corner store. I just want to sleep. But I can make bracelets while I'm laying in bed. So I got in touch with her. Her name was Bet, and along with her daughter, Laura, they had started a mental health support group in their area entitled Hugs and Loves. Their goal was simple: make bracelets to remind those going through difficult times that you're not alone. Remind others that sometimes all it takes is hugs and a bit of love to help someone they know who's going through a mental health issue. They have made hundreds of these bracelets. They give them out free of charge out of their own pockets. At local events, they even mail them anywhere in the world as requested. Well, I told Bet that I'd be happy to help out. She showed up at my door the next day with bracelets for me and all the supplies I would need to make them myself. Me being the creative person I can be at sometimes, and analytical, I thought, what about men? Do they really want a bracelet? So I designed keychains. Then I thought about the kids. There are kids going through this too. Along came zipper pulls. Helping Bet spread the word with something as simple as bracelets helped me realize that I was not alone, and I could still help even in my darkest days. That was the beginning of my true healing. I finally ended up back near my hometown of Listowel and their outpatient therapy program, where luckily I found another therapist, amazing therapist, that would listen to me and help me help myself. I went to one-on-one therapy, and then by chance I was lucky enough to participate in a group session with her and other patients, not once but twice. In my personal life, I had started seeing this amazingly understanding man who wasn't afraid to tell me to get off my butt, work through it, tell him what was wrong. But he'd also hold me when he knew all that I needed was a good cry. Carly's 9th birthday, 2012, is a day I will never forget. We went to the cemetery as we always do. I took her balloons, and he changed the way I was thinking of that day. Don't focus on the fact she passed away that day. Focus on the fact that she was here. So 10 years after losing my angel, I started to try giving back to those who supported me. My group of angel moms who I had met online via, of all places, Facebook, who didn't judge but rather listened and understood my pain. I started taking photographs of clouds, flowers, anything that reminded me of her. I'd add poems by anonymous authors to them and offer them as graphics. It didn't seem like enough. I crocheted, and I made some crocheted hearts. And my angel friends said, you need to sell those. So Canadian Sis Creations was created on Facebook. I sold sock monkeys and other crafts. Then I was approached to help with Quietly United and Lost Together, a pregnancy and infant loss awareness campaign founded by Naika Hall, a mother in Boston who had given birth to her stillborn daughter, Anaya, at 39 weeks. We both were struggling. Concept was simple: create a memorial quilt based on the AIDS quilt from years ago. but each square would represent a child who had passed between conception and 24 months of age. Concept has flourished. It's now being done in 4 countries, Australia, UK, Canada, and the US. I also got involved with Pregnancy and Infant Loss Network.